Your brain is lying to you about risk, about security, about what you deserve. And that lie is costing you everything. This is not a book about stock picks or budgeting apps. This is the master guide to performing the only financial repair that matters, the one between your ears. For the next hour, you will be under construction. We will locate the faulty wiring of fear and greed installed by your past, and we will replace it, piece by piece, with the unshakable architecture of the wealthy mind. Silence every other voice, listen, and change your financial DNA starting now. Chapter 1. Diagnose your financial nervous system. Let's begin with the most important diagnosis of your life. You are not rational with money. You never have been. Every single financial decision you believe you thought through, the investment you made, the purchase you delayed, the job you took for the salary, the sale you triggered in a panic, was not a product of logic. It was a chemical event, a biological script playing out in the dark theater of your skull. A script written by experiences you barely remember, by words spoken over you decades ago, by fears and desires etched into a brain pattern you did not choose. That ends now. Your first task is not to pick a stock. It is to pick apart your own wiring, to perform the audit of your financial nervous system, because you cannot change what you do not first see with brutal, unforgiving clarity. We are going to dissect two moments that feel like opposites, but are, neurologically, the exact same failure. Moment 1, the panic cell. The market dips, 10%, 15%. Your portfolio, that digital number you've tied your identity to, bleeds red. Your stomach clenches, your vision tunnels on the screen. Your voice, screams in your head, "It's all going to zero. Get out, save what's left." And you click sell. You call it cutting losses. You call it prudent risk management. You lie. That was not a financial strategy. That was a biological threat response, a survival circuit older than civilization firing in a context it cannot understand. The dip in the stock chart was processed by your amygdala, your ancient fear center, as a predator in the tall grass, as a cliff edge. The cortisol flooded your system, the adrenaline, your higher reasoning shut down, and you ran. You did not make a decision. You had a reflex, a spasm, a financial seizure. That's the key. You must see the panic cell for what it truly is, a neurological event, a hijacking. You were not in the driver's seat. Your past's deepest fear was. Moment 2, the FOMO buy. You see it on social media, the headlines, the stories of ordinary people making millions. A cryptocurrency is going to the moon. A stock is a sure thing. The fear you felt before is replaced by a different, more seductive chemistry, greed, or more accurately, the fear of missing out, the dopamine promise of easy reward. Your heart races again, but this time with anticipation. You imagine the life, the freedom, the validation. You bypass your own rules. You throw just a little at it, money you told yourself was for safety, and you click buy. And you call it opportunity. You call it being in the game. You lie again. That was not an investment. That was a reward hijack. Your brain's pleasure center, dazzled by the potential jackpot, overrode every rational guardrail. You weren't investing, you were gambling on a chemical promise. You were chasing the dragon of a future that doesn't exist. Panic and greed, fear and FOMO, they feel different in your body, but in your financial nervous system, they are twins. They are both systems override. They are both moments where you are a passenger, not a pilot, reacting, not responding. Your first thought is never yours. It's your past's. It's a pre-recorded tape of every loss, every scarcity, every moment of envy you've ever experienced. That instant urge to flee or to chase, that's not intelligence. That's your programming. But here is your power, your leverage point. Your second thought, the chosen one, That's where your future is built. The space between the chemical flare and your action. That is the only space that matters. That is the gap you will learn to widen into a canyon. That is where the unshakable mind is constructed. So your instruction for this chapter is not to act, it is to observe. For the next week, you will become a neuroscientist of your own behavior. You will carry a notepad, physical or digital, and every time you feel a financial impulse, to buy something to feel better, to sell something to stop the pain, to chase a hot tip, to shy away from a necessary risk, you will not act. You will write. You will write the trigger, saw portfolio down 5%, heard colleague talk about their Tesla gains, had a bad day, wanted to buy new clothes. You will write the first thought, the chemical scream, I'm losing everything, I'm being left behind, I deserve this. And then you will breathe, and you will choose your second thought, the deliberate one. This is a test of my system. Their gain is relevant to my plan. This purchase solves no real problem. You are not managing money yet. You are managing circuitry. You are mapping the faulty wiring. This is the foundation. Everything else, the strategies, the rituals, the portfolios, is built on this stable ground. Without this diagnosis, you are building a mansion on a fault line. It will shake, and it will fall. You have a choice. You can remain a biological puppet, jerked around by ancient chemicals and other people's hype, or you can become the architect of your financial nervous system. The work starts in the silence between the thought you were given and the thought you choose. Your first thought is not yours. It's your past's. It's a pre-recorded tape of every loss, every scarcity, every moment of envy you've ever experienced. That instant urge to flee or to chase, that's not intelligence, that's your programming. But your second thought, the engineered one, that's where your future is built. You have located the problem, the reflex. Now we trace its origin. We delete the source code.
Chapter 2. Delete the poverty imprint. Now you see the reflex, the panic, the chase. But we must go deeper. We must find the source code, the original program running in the background of your mind, dictating every limit you have. You have an imprint, a financial fingerprint pressed into wet clay when you were young, by people who loved you, by a world that shaped you. It hardened. It became your ceiling. You call it reality. You call it just how things are. You call it enough. It is not. It is a poverty imprint. And until you delete it, every dollar you earn will be filtered through its scarred lens. You will self-sabotage. You will feel guilt for your own ambition. You will shrink from true abundance because your inner software rejects it as foreign, as dangerous, as wrong. More is not the goal. Clarity is the goal. But enough, that whispered limiting word, is a program, and it has a ceiling. Today, we shatter it. Listen for the scripts, the silent mantras that play on a loop. You've heard them. You've spoken them. Money is the root of all evil, a profound misquote used to sanctify scarcity. The actual quote is the love of money is the root of all evil. The distinction is everything. The tool is not the corruption, the obsession is. This script makes wealth itself sinful. It makes your desire for it a moral failing. Rich people are greedy, a story told by those outside the gates, a blanket judgment that allows you to reject the discipline required for wealth. If all wealthy people are morally corrupt, then your lack of wealth is a badge of honor. It's a comforting lie. It's intellectual cowardice. We just weren't meant to have that. The family story, the class story, the story of identity. It's a life sentence you did not choose, but you recite as your own. These are not opinions. They are neurological commands. They are the invisible walls of your financial cage. Let's see the imprint in action, in real time. You were up for a promotion, a raise. You have the data, you have the value. You walk into the room, and instead of stating your clear, justified number, you hesitate. You apologize with your posture. You say, "I was thinking maybe if it's okay around this range." You shrink your own worth to fit the invisible box your imprint built. That's self-sabotage. That's the imprint enforcing its limit. Or this, you make a wise investment. You do the research, you follow your rational ritual. It grows significantly. And instead of feeling confident, strategic, empowered, you feel a pang of guilt. Why me? Do I really deserve this? This feels dirty. That's not humility. That's the imprint rejecting the new data. It's allergic to your success. Your own mind is betraying you. You cannot audit your finances until you audit your beliefs. The ledger of your mind must be cleared first. So here is your operation, your deletion protocol. Step 1. Interrogate the inheritance. You will sit in silence. You will ask, what were the 3 most common phrases about money spoken in my childhood home? Write them down. Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. It's rude to talk about money. See them. Name them. These are not truths. They are heirlooms of limitation. Step 2. Trace the emotional blueprint. Ask, what was the primary emotion connected to money in my upbringing? Was it anxiety, fear, shame, resentment? You inherited an emotional state, not a bank account. That emotion is your default setting. You must recognize it as a setting, not a fact. Step 3. The counter command. For every limiting script, you will write a new authoritative command, not an affirmation, a command. If the script is, rich people are greedy, your command is, wealthy people are problem solvers on a massive scale. I choose to solve problems. If it's, we weren't meant to have that, your command is, I define what my life is meant to be. My legacy starts with my decision. That's the key. You are not layering positive thinking over a negative core. You are performing a deletion and then an installation. It's not about feeling worthy. It's about deleting the program that insists you're not. You don't need its permission. The imprint does not get a vote. This work is non-negotiable. Because if you try to build a skyscraper on the foundation of a shack, the foundation will give way every time. Your new actions will feel terrifying, wrong, like you're betraying your tribe. That feeling is the imprint's final defense, its death rattle. Push through it. You have a choice. You can live inside the story someone else wrote for you, a story of lack, a story of enough. Or you can pick up the pen, tear out the page, and write your own declaration of abundance. It begins with a single act of intellectual violence, the deletion of a lie you once loved because it was familiar. The poverty imprint kept you safe in a small world, but you are not meant for a small world. You are meant for a life of impact, of freedom, of chosen constraints, not inherited ones. You cannot be unshakable if your core is programmed to crumble under the weight of your own potential. You have diagnosed the system. You have deleted the old program. Now you must confront the great sedative, the dream killer disguised as a safe harbor.
Chapter 3. Stop worshiping the false god of security. Now we come to the great sedative, the universal lie. You have been taught to seek it above all else, to sacrifice your freedom, your leverage, your growth on its altar. It is the most worshipped and most deceptive idol in the modern world, security. The desperate pursuit of job security, the blind chase for the guaranteed return, the quiet plea for a predictable, risk-free life. This is not prudence. This is the single greatest wealth suppressor ever designed. It is a psychological trap. It makes you a beggar at the gates of an institution, pleading for scraps of stability. It confuses a temporary condition for a permanent state.
Security is not a thing you find, it's a thing you build. And the blueprint is volatility, not avoidance. Let's make this painfully concrete. Picture two paths. Path A, the 40-year man. He gets the good job at the proud, stable company. He believes the unspoken contract, loyalty for security. He trades his most vibrant decades for a title and a pension promise. He avoids risks. He stops learning the new language of his industry. He becomes a relic, a costly line item. Then, one Tuesday, it happens. A restructuring, a technological shift. The market moves. The secure job is gone. The pension is underfunded. The world he avoided changing has changed without him. His security was an illusion, rented to him by someone else, and the lease is up. Which mind leads to true freedom? The answer is a thunderclap. Now let's talk about your money hiding in safe places. The savings account with the guaranteed 0.5% return, the government bond, the pile of cash under the proverbial mattress. You look at the number. It seems stable. It seems safe. It is a corpse, slowly decaying. You're not preserving wealth. You are performing a slow-motion financial suicide because of the silent thief, inflation. At a modest 3% inflation, the purchasing power of that safe cash is cut in half in 24 years. You're paying a 3% annual fee for the privilege of watching your money become worthless. The guarantee is a guarantee of loss. The safety is an anesthesia that numbs you to the hemorrhage. That's the key. You are seeking a feeling, the absence of fear, not a result. The growth of actual inflation-proof wealth. It's not about avoiding risk. It's about understanding that what you call security is the highest risk of all. The risk of irrelevance. The risk of slow, dignified poverty. So your instruction is to perform a security audit. First, audit your dependencies. List every major source of your income and survival. Your job, your spouse's job, a single client. How many of them are singular? How many are under someone else's control? The number 1 is not a secure number. It is a precarious number. Your goal is to make that number 3, 4, 5, not with reckless haste, but with disciplined building. Second, audit your safe money. Look at every dollar in a near zero interest account. Ask the brutal question, what is this dollar's purpose? If it's your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, fine. That is a tool for liquidity, not growth. But anything beyond that is a cowardly dollar, a dollar that has retired from its one job, to work for you. Reassign it. Third, redefine security. From this moment, security is not a noun, it is a verb. It is your capacity to generate value, your network, your skill set, your ability to learn and adapt, your liquid capital ready to deploy. Security is your own resilience, period. You don't need your boss's permission to build it, you just need your own discipline. You have a choice. You can chain yourself to the rusting anchor of guaranteed safety and wonder why your ship never moves. Or you can learn to sail. The ocean is volatile, the wind is unpredictable, but a skilled sailor finds security not in a calm harbor, but in her ability to handle any storm. The harbor rots the hull, the sea teaches it to be strong. Security is not a place you arrive at, it is a muscle you develop by lifting heavier and heavier weights of uncertainty, by embracing calculated volatility as the very material from which growth is forged. You have deleted the poverty imprint, you have stopped kneeling before the false god. Now you must face the most intimate saboteur, the one that turns every dollar into a referendum on your worth.
Chapter 4. Separate your ego from every dollar. We have cleared the false idols. Now we face the most insidious saboteur of all. It lives in your mirror. It whispers in your ear. It is your ego, and it has fused itself to your money.
Your money is not money to your ego. It is a scorecard. It is therapy. It is a reputation to be polished and displayed. It is a weapon for your insecurities. And this fusion is the fastest, most efficient way to bleed your wealth dry. You must perform a separation, a financial surgery. You must cut the cord between your self-worth and your net worth. When your identity enters the trade always loses. Be a ghost in the market. Let's dissect the ego's 3 most expensive plays. Play 1, the signal purchase. You buy the car, not the reliable, high-value car, the expensive status signal car, the one with the payment that strangles your cash flow for 7 years. You don't buy it for transportation. You buy it for the feeling, the glance from a stranger, the imagined respect. You are trading actual financial freedom, thousands of future dollars, for a transient chemical flicker of validation. That is not a purchase, it is an addiction. You are paying a massive premium to treat your insecurity with a temporary bandage made of chrome and leather. Play 2, the soothe spend. You had a hard day, a difficult week. You feel unseen, unappreciated, small. So you open your phone. You click Buy Now. The new watch, the designer item, the latest gadget. The package arrives. The dopamine hits. For an hour, a day, you feel better. You have used money as therapy, but it is the worst therapy in the world. It has no lasting effect. It only creates a bigger problem, a lighter bank account, and the same unresolved emotion. Now you have less money and the same pain. It's a vicious, bankrupting cycle. Play 3, the prideful hold. This is the masterstroke of ego. You buy an investment. It goes down and down. The data is clear. The thesis is broken. The rational action is to sell, take the tax loss, and redeploy the capital. But you don't. You hold. Why? Because selling would mean admitting you were wrong. It would mean a tiny public to yourself defeat. Your pride values being right more than your financial future values being rich. You would rather lose real money than face a phantom loss of face. The ego would rather go down with the ship than be seen swimming to safety. That's the key. The ego is not a partner in building wealth. It is a parasite that feeds on it. It confuses the tool for the trophy. Your money has one job: to work for you, to purchase freedom, options, and security. It is a soldier, a unit of energy. When you give it a second job, to make you feel powerful, to heal a wound, to prove a point, you cripple it. You send a soldier into battle wearing a clown costume. It's not about frugality. It's about purity of purpose. You don't need the validation of strangers. You need the compound growth of unattached capital. So, your surgery begins now. The ego extraction protocol. First, the 72-hour autopsy. For any non-essential purchase over a set amount, you define it. You impose a mandatory 72-hour waiting period. During that time, you ask the brutal question, what is this dollar's real job? Is it to buy a tool, or is it to buy a feeling? Write the answer. If the answer is to make me feel respected, loved, better, or avenged, you abort the transaction. You have just caught your ego red-handed. You don't need its permission to deny it. Second, implement the ghost test. Before any financial decision, an investment, a sale, a major buy, you ask, if I could make this decision completely anonymously, if no one would ever know it was me, would I make the same choice? If the answer changes, your ego is in the driver's seat. Evict it. The ghost in the market cares only for the mechanics of gain, not the applause of the crowd. Third, practice strategic surrender. You will find one small losing position in your life, a bad investment, a pointless subscription, a habit with a cost, and you will deliberately surrender. You will sell it, cancel it, end it. You will say out loud, "I was wrong. This is a cost of learning." It doesn't kill you. It strengthens you. It teaches your ego its place, in the passenger seat, silent. You have a choice. You can be a character in a story you're financing for an audience of others, a story of appearances, a story of fragile pride. Or you can be the anonymous, unstoppable force building a fortress of real wealth in the quiet. When your identity is on the line, your logic is blindfolded. Your money becomes emotional collateral. Sever the link. Your self-worth is not a number in an app. Your reputation is not a car in a driveway. Your therapy is not a package on your doorstep. These are lies the ego sells to bankrupt you. Separate the soldier from the costume. Send your money to work with a clear, cold, single-minded mission, the mission of growth. You have surgically removed your ego from the equation. Now you must confront the final great mental distortion, the one that turns your greatest ally into your most feared enemy.
Chapter 5. See risk as your only ally. You have separated your ego. Now you must embrace your most powerful partner. You have been taught to fear it, to avoid it, to see it as the enemy of security, of stability, of sleep. This is the final, catastrophic mental error. Risk is not your enemy. Risk is the only ally you have. Risk is not something to be managed down to zero. That is the management of death, the management of zero growth. Risk is the raw material, the unrefined ore. And your task is not to avoid the mine. Your task is to become a master craftsman in its use. The greatest risk of all is the perpetual avoidance of risk. That is the guaranteed plan for irrelevance. Let's destroy the confusion. Let's define the line with unbreakable steel. On one side, recklessness. This is ego-driven. It is impulsive. It seeks a thrill, a jackpot, a story. It is uninformed. It is the gambler at the roulette table betting on red because it feels lucky. It is the person who hears a tip and plunges their life savings into a single speculative stock. Recklessness has no system, no edge. It is hope disguised as a strategy. It is a chemical adventure paid for with your capital. On the other side, calculated risk. This is logic-driven. It is patient. It seeks an edge, a statistical advantage, a long-term outcome. It is intensely informed. It is the entrepreneur who risks capital only after validating a market need, building a prototype, and securing pre-orders. It is the investor who dollar-cost averages a fixed amount into a volatile, broad-market index fund every single month for decades, knowing that short-term dips are the discount window. That's the key. One is a blind leap, the other is an engineered bridge. Both involve uncertainty, but only one involves skill. Look at the person in cash, the one who avoids the roller coaster. They stand on the sidelines, clutching their safe dollars, watching the game. They feel smart. They feel prudent. They are committing financial suicide on a 30-year delay. They are guaranteeing their purchasing power will evaporate. They have mistaken the absence of volatility for the presence of wisdom. They are not safe. They are decaying. Now look at the craftsman. They understand risk is a tool. They ask, what is the probability? What is the potential upside? What is the catastrophic downside I cannot recover from? How does this fit into the broader system of my life? They deploy risk like a surgeon deploys a scalpel, with precision for a specific outcome within a controlled environment. It's not about courage, it's about calculation. You don't need a gambler's heart, you need an engineer's mind. So, your transformation is this. You will stop taking risks and start allocating risk capital. Here is your framework, your risk allocation protocol. First, define your zones. You will divide your capital into 3 zones. Zone 1, the foundation. This is capital that cannot be risked, your emergency fund, your core living capital. It is for liquidity and survival. Zone 2, the engine. This is your strategic risk capital.
This is for calculated, systematic wealth building, your index funds, your business investments, your skill acquisitions. Zone 3, the frontier. This is a small, defined amount for speculative, high-conviction experiments. It is your laboratory. The key is that money moves from Zone 1 to Zone 2 to Zone 3 only with deliberate intent, never the other way. Second, measure the asymmetry. Before any allocation of Zone 2 or Zone 3 capital, you must write the asymmetric bet. Ask, what is the best possible outcome? What is the worst possible outcome? Is the best outcome a multiple, 10x, 100x, of the worst outcome? Is the worst outcome a loss I can psychologically and financially absorb? If the upside is limited and the downside is total, it is not a calculated risk. It is a fool's bet. Reject it. Third, practice the small burn. You must get comfortable with the feeling of being wrong. Allocate a trivial instructional sum, an amount you can afford to lose completely, to a calculated risk. A small investment in a sector you're studying, a micro-business test. Track it. Feel the volatility. Learn that the world does not end when a position goes down 20%. This is immunization therapy for your panic reflex. You have a choice. You can see the ocean as a thing that drowns sailors and forever stay on the barren shore. Or you can see it as the only pathway to new worlds and learn to build a seaworthy ship. The shore is not safe. It is stagnant. It is where dreams go to fossilize. The unshakable mind does not hide from risk. It develops a sophisticated palate for it. It knows that the risk-free rate is a financial fairy tale. True security lies in a portfolio of intelligently chosen, non-correlated risks, in a skill set that is valuable across market cycles, in the courage to be wrong and the discipline to be right over the long term. Risk is the price of admission to a life of growth. You can pay it with calculation and build an empire, or you can refuse to pay it and guarantee your seat in the gallery of the forgotten. You have embraced your ally. You have accepted the raw material. Now you must build the machine that processes it day after day, without emotion, without fail.
Chapter 6. Build your rational rituals. You have the theory. You have the ally. You have the intent. Now we bridge the fatal gap, the gap between knowing and doing. You cannot think your way to discipline. You cannot willpower your way to consistency. Your emotions are too strong. Your ego is too clever. Your old wiring is too fast. Thinking is failure in moments of stress. Wishing is bankruptcy in the face of temptation. You must remove the need to choose. You must make the rational choice the only easy choice, the automatic choice. You must ritualize your financial behavior. Discipline is not an act of will. It is an act of design. Design your rituals, and your rituals will design your wealth. Let's make this concrete. Let's see the machine in motion. Ritual 1. The Sunday Night Financial Review. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. you sit. No phone, no distractions. You open one document, your financial dashboard. You look at 3 numbers only: your cash balance, your investment totals, your credit card statement. You do not judge. You observe. You log the week's spending in its category. You see the automated transfer to your investment account has already happened. You check that your bills are scheduled. This is not an emotional event. It is a systems check, a 20-minute non-negotiable audit of the machine. It creates clarity. It kills financial vagueness, the breeding ground of fear and impulse. Ritual 2. The payday automation. Your paycheck hits your account, but you never see the full amount. You designed it that way. On payday at 12:05 a.m., an automated rule executes. It moves a predetermined percentage, your wealth allocation, instantly to a separate account you cannot easily access. It moves another percentage to your bills account. What arrives in your spending account is what's left. You have made saving and investing a law of physics in your life. You don't decide to save. The system saves. You are now negotiating with a smaller, rational number for your lifestyle.
You have outsourced your discipline to a code that never gets tired, never feels afraid, never has a bad day. Ritual 3. The pre-decision checklist. You face a large financial decision, a new investment, a major purchase, a business opportunity. You do not trust your gut in this moment. Your gut is a liar. You open a physical, pre-written checklist. It has questions like, does this align with my written financial constitution? Have I slept on this for 72 hours? What is the asymmetric upside-downside? What does my trusted rational advisor, not my emotional friend, say? You answer them in writing. The checklist is the gatekeeper. It slows down the chemical surge. It forces the rational brain to engage. If the checklist isn't satisfied, the answer is automatically no. No debate. That's the key. You are not fighting temptation in the moment. You are designing the moment so temptation never gets a foothold. It's not about being strong. It's about being strategic. You don't need to resist the cookie if the cookie is never in your house. So your instruction is to build your ritual architecture. This week, you will install 3 foundational rituals. First, the automation mandate. You will set up one automatic financial transfer. It can be small, $50, $100, but it must be automatic, recurring, and from your primary account to your investment account within 24 hours of your payday. You are programming your first line of code in your wealth algorithm. You are making your future a fixed cost. Second, the weekly unplug. You will schedule your 20-minute financial review. Put it in your calendar as a sacred, non-negotiable appointment. Wealth systems check. The agenda is fixed. Observe cash, observe investments, log spending. No action required unless it's on your pre-written action list for such reviews. This ritual builds the muscle of detached observation. It makes you the CEO of your finances, not the frantic day trader of your emotions. Third, create your gatekeeper checklist. You will write your 5-question checklist for any financial decision over a specific amount. Write the questions now in a calm, rational state. Laminate it, put it in your wallet, save it as a note on your phone. This checklist becomes your financial co-pilot. It is the embodiment of your unshakable mind. When the market is crashing and your amygdala is screaming sell, you will pull out the checklist. It will ask, is this a violation of my long-term strategy? The answer will be yes. The checklist's rule will be no sell decisions during a 5% down day, and you will be saved from yourself. You have a choice. You can live in a state of constant internal negotiation, fighting a civil war in your mind every payday, every market swing, every shopping impulse. Or you can write the peace treaty in the form of systems. Your rituals are the treaty. Willpower is a battery. It drains. Ritual is a solar panel. It captures consistent energy and converts it into automatic power. Your unshakable mind is not a feeling. It is a factory. The rituals are the assembly line. They take the raw material of your income and your intent, and they assemble, piece by piece, the finished product of your wealth, without drama, without fanfare, without you having to think about it. Your system is now running. The machine is built. But to operate it, you must learn to work in the most profitable environment imaginable. Total emotional silence.
Chapter 7. Embrace the emotional vacuum. Your rituals are built. Your system is live. Now you must master the environment, the battlefield where wealth is truly transferred. The market is not a single entity. It is a collision of 2 forces, the noisy, emotional herd and the silent, rational vacuum. The herd is driven by chemistry. It panics as one. It euphorically chases as one. It is loud, desperate, and wrong at the extremes. The vacuum is the space it leaves behind, the moment of maximum opportunity, which exists in perfect, deafening silence. No cheering, no headlines, just cold, hard value and paralyzing fear. Your success does not depend on joining the herd. It depends on your ability to operate calmly in the emotional vacuum it flees.
When the world is screaming, your strategy must be silent. Your plan must be deaf to the noise. Let's go to the laboratory of history. Let's witness the vacuum in its purest form. Case Study 1. The 2008 Abyss. The headline screamed financial collapse. The herd's emotion was pure, undiluted terror. The talking head spoke of a second Great Depression. The word blood was used to describe the streets. In that moment, the emotional vacuum was created. The herd was paralyzed, selling at any price. Who operated in the vacuum? The rational architects, those with capital and a plan. They saw not the end of capitalism, but the fire sale of the century on world-class assets. They bought high-quality stocks and real estate at 50, 60, 70 cents on the dollar. Their gut screamed, run. Their checklist said, deploy. They embraced the vacuum. They were not heroes. They were simply deaf to the noise. Case Study 2. The COVID crash of March 2020. The world shut down. The charts were vertical cliffs downward. The uncertainty was absolute. The herd's emotion was a novel, global panic. The vacuum opened. For a few weeks, the market was untethered from reality, driven purely by fear. Those whose rituals were intact, whose capital was allocated, who had written their plan in calm times, they executed. They made their regular automated investments. They bought more. They did not debate. Their system was designed for this exact moment. While the herd was consumed by the scream of the virus, the silent operators were accumulating the future at a discount. That's the key. The vacuum is not comfortable. It is profoundly unnerving. Your biology will betray you. It will scream that this time is different, that the world is ending, that you were a fool for not fleeing. It's not about predicting the bottom. It's about having a protocol for the panic. You don't need a crystal ball. You need a checklist that activates when everyone else loses their mind. So how do you train yourself to step into the silence? You build vacuum protocols. First, the contrarian capital allocation. Within your investment plan, you explicitly define a portion of your capital as vacuum fuel. This is not your regular automated investment. This is a separate, smaller pool that sits in cash, waiting. Its sole purpose is to be deployed when a specific, predefined trigger occurs in the market, a rapid double-digit percentage drop in a major index, for example. The rule is written in advance. If the S&P drops 15% within a month, I will deploy 25% of my vacuum fuel over the next 8 weeks. The decision is made now. The emotion is removed later. Second, the media blackout drill. When volatility spikes, you will practice a media blackout. You will turn off financial news notifications. You will not check portfolios obsessively. You will not read opinion pieces. For 48 hours, you will let the storm pass without watching it. You will only consult your written plan and your checklist. This drill breaks your addiction to the noise that fuels the herd's emotion. It forces you to sit in the silence you fear. Third, the fear gauge journal. In moments of market panic, you will open a specific journal. You will write down the dominant headline. You will write down the visceral fear you feel. The banks are collapsing. I will lose my job and my savings. Then you will write the counter-statement from your rational mind. Major banks are being stress-tested and recapitalized. My skills are transferable, and my emergency fund covers 6 months. You are not journaling to feel better. You are journaling to objectify the emotion, to see the scream as data, not as truth. You have a choice. You can be a sensory organ of the market, feeling every spike of fear, every surge of greed, and reacting like a nerve ending. Or you can be the central nervous system, processing the noise as irrelevant data and sending calm, pre-programmed commands to the machine. When the world is screaming, that is your signal, the signal to go silent, the signal to let your rituals breathe, the signal that the herd is creating opportunity through its own emotional incontinence. The unshakable mind is not unfeeling. It is selectively deaf. It hears the scream, acknowledges it as the herd's location, and moves in the opposite direction. into the vacuum where fortunes are built, not from genius, but from the simple, silent execution of a plan written in calmness. You have learned to operate in the silence. Now you must inoculate yourself against the most virulent social disease, the need for consensus.
Chapter 8. Ignore the herd. It's heading for a cliff. You can now operate in the vacuum. You can withstand the silence. Now you must face the source of the noise, the gravitational pull that warps all reason. The herd. The herd is not a collection of individuals. It is a single emotional organism. It seeks one thing above all else: consensus, agreement, the warm, validating blanket of being part of the crowd. Understand this with crystal clarity. Consensus is a comfort blanket, not an investment thesis. If everyone agrees on a financial strategy, that strategy is already worthless. The opportunity is gone. The edge is smoothed into a plateau. All that remains is the risk. Your compass must be internal. The herd's opinion is the static on your radio. Turn it off. Let's autopsy the herd's greatest hits. Let's watch it run toward cliffs, singing all the way. The dot-com bubble. The herd's mantra was new paradigm. The old rules were dead. Profits were passé. Eyeballs and clicks were the new currency. The consensus was absolute. Your barber, your taxi driver, your cousin all had stock tips. The herd was euphoric, drunk on a story. The narrative was, this time it's different. It never is. The cliff was the total disconnect between price and value. And in 2000, the herd went over the edge. The ones standing alone, labeled out of touch for questioning valuations, were the ones who kept their capital to buy the real assets later. The housing mania. The herd's chant was prices only go up. The consensus, real estate was a can't-lose magical ATM. The narrative, again, this time it's different. Debt was repackaged into risk-free alchemy. The herd piled in, flippers, speculators, ordinary people buying 3 homes with no income. The ones operating on internal compasses saw the unsustainable leverage, the liar loans, the insanity. They were called pessimists, doomsayers. Then 2008 arrived. The herd discovered the cliff. The ones with the internal compass had already sold or simply never bought in. That's the key. The herd's narrative is always a siren song. It simplifies complexity into a slogan. It replaces due diligence with dopamine. It confuses popularity with wisdom. And the media? The media is not your guide. It is the herd's amplifier. Its business model is not to make you rich. It is to capture your attention, to generate clicks, views, and fear. It feeds the beast. A calm, rational headline does not sell. Stock market crashes. Does. Is this the next big thing? Does. The media is the soundtrack to the stampede. It tells you where the herd is, not where you should go. It's not about being a contrarian for its own sake. It's about being immune to consensus for sanity's sake. You don't need the herd's permission to think for yourself. So your operation is herd immunity. You will build psychological antibodies against consensus. First, the consensus detector. You will actively monitor for the signs of herd thinking. When you hear a financial idea from 3 different unrelated sources, your coworker, a TV segment, a social media post, you will flag it, not as a signal to buy, as a signal to investigate the risk. Ask, if everyone is doing this, where is the edge? What are they all missing? What is the narrative blinding them to? This detector turns consensus from a lure into a warning beacon. Second, cultivate deliberate ignorance. You will curate your information diet with ruthless discipline. Unfollow financial fearmongers. Unsubscribe from clickbait newsletters. Mute the perpetual pundits. Replace it with primary sources, company reports, historical data, the writings of dead philosophers and long-term investors. You will starve the herd mentality in your own mind. You will consume protein, not candy. Third, the why-them test. Before adopting any widely touted strategy, you must pass this test. Ask, who is telling me this and what is their real incentive? The TV analyst owns the stock.
The influencer gets affiliate commissions. The late-stage guru is selling a course. The herd is often being herded by shepherds with a financial stake in the stampede. Your internal compass asks, does this align with my system, my risk allocation, my goals? If the primary reason is because everyone is doing it, you have failed the test. You have a choice. You can be a data point in the herd's momentum. You can feel the temporary comfort of being with the crowd heading toward a cliff you've all agreed doesn't exist, or you can stand apart. You can be misunderstood. You can be called foolish until the moment you were proven right, and then you will be called lucky. Let them talk. The unshakable mind is a lonely mind. It finds its validation in the fidelity of its own system, not in the nodding heads of the crowd. It knows that the peak of optimism is the point of maximum financial danger. The pit of pessimism is the point of maximum financial opportunity, and the herd is always at one peak or the other. Your compass is your written plan, your rituals, your vacuum protocols. The herd's opinion is weather. Your system is climate. You do not build a house for the weather, you build it for the climate. You have immunized yourself to the herd. Now you must test the final, most important structure, your own mind under maximum pressure.
Chapter 9. Pressure Test Your Portfolio Mentality. You are immunized. You are systematic. Your rituals are set. Now we must test the container, the vessel that holds it all. Your portfolio is not a collection of tickers and balances. That is the superficial layer, the spreadsheet. Your portfolio is a psychological endurance test, a live measure of your unshakable mind. The question is not, what will the market do? The question is, can your mind hold an investment that's down 30%? Can it watch a year of gains evaporate in a week and not flinch? Can it see a sea of red and not reach for the sell button? If the answer lives in your gut, you will fail. The answer must live in your protocol. A portfolio is only as strong as the mind that holds it. Fortify the mind and the portfolio becomes unbreakable. Let's move from theory to the fire drill. The moment of truth is not when it happens. It is now, in the calm, when you pre-wire your response. The simulation. Close your eyes. Imagine you open your statement, your net worth, the number you've tied to your safety, your future, your dreams, is down 25%. Not a hypothetical, yours, a quarter of it, gone, on paper. Feel it, the lurch in your stomach, the tightness in your chest, the voice that whispers, it's all slipping away, do something. Now here is the failure point for 99% of people. They feel that sensation and they act. They do something to make the feeling stop. They sell. They lock in the loss. They convert a paper downturn into a permanent, life-altering loss of capital. Your job is to sever the link between that feeling and that action. You do not negotiate with the panic. You execute the protocol. That's the key. You must script the response before the stimulus. You must rehearse the fire drill so when the heat comes, you move on muscle memory, not on fear. It's not about courage in the moment. It's about preparation before the moment. You don't need to be brave. You need to be programmed. So your mission is to conduct the mental stress test. You will write, rehearse, and embody the protocol for the storm. Step 1. Write the downturn script. You will open a document. You will title it Protocol for a 25% Drawdown. You will write it as a series of commands in the second person. It will read, you will feel panic. Acknowledge it. Say out loud, this is the test. You will open your pre-written investment philosophy document and reread the section on market cycles. You will check your personal liquidity. Is the emergency fund intact? If yes, proceed. If no, address that only. You will review your automatic investment schedule. You will ensure it is still funded and running. You will not log into your brokerage account for any reason other than the scheduled automated buy. You will implement a 7-day media blackout. This script is your lifeline. It tells your panicking brain exactly what to do, step by boring step, when it cannot think for itself. The second, hands tied rule.
You will create a tangible barrier to emotional action. This could be giving a trusted, rational partner the login credentials with instructions not to give them back for a set period during a crash. It could be using a brokerage that allows you to preset rules, like no sales allowed from this account unless verified by a 48-hour delay and a checklist completion. You are physically removing the ability to make a catastrophic emotional decision. You are tying your own hands to save your future. Step 3. The loss rehearsal exercise. You will take a small, intentional mental journey once a month. You will visualize your portfolio down a significant amount. You will feel the visceral fear. And then you will visualize yourself executing your downturn script perfectly. You will see yourself not selling. You will see yourself sticking to the plan. You are inoculating your nervous system against the shock. You are teaching it, this feeling is not a signal to act, it is a signal to execute the plan. You have a choice. You can be like a skyscraper built on a calm day, assuming it will stand, only to collapse in the first high wind because its stresses were never calculated. Or you can be the architect who models the 100-year storm, who reinforces the joints, who knows exactly how much sway is within tolerance. You build for the worst-case scenario, so when it arrives, you are not surprised, you are validated. Your portfolio's true value is not its current price. Its true value is your ability to hold it through the inevitable storm, to not be a forced seller, to be the patient, liquid buyer when everyone else is a desperate seller. That ability is what you are building right now. The unshakable mind is a mind that has already lived through the crash in its imagination 100 times. It has felt the fear and chosen its response. When the real test comes, there is no decision. There is only the protocol, the script, the rehearsal becoming reality. Your mind is now pressure tested. It is fortified. There is only one task left, to take this hardened psychology and translate it into a sovereign command, to write the final, unbreakable law.
Chapter 10. Command your future. It obeys clarity. The architecture is complete. The mind is fortified. Now we make it permanent. We move from theory to law. The unshakable mind is not a state of feeling. It is a decision-making machine. It does not hope, it does not wish, it does not wonder. It executes. Your final task is the most important one. You will translate every lesson, every protocol, every insight from this book into a single, sovereign document. You will move from being a student of principles to the author of your own law. Vagueness is the enemy. Clarity is the weapon. Write your rules, then become their most obedient servant. This document is your financial constitution. It is not a budget. It is not a list of goals. It is the foundational law of your economic life. It is the operating system for your unshakable mind. One page, non-negotiable, written in stone. Without it, you are a ship without a rudder, pushed by every market breeze, every emotional wave, every opinion of the herd. With it, you are the captain. The course is set. The storms are irrelevant. That's the key. This document does not live in the future. It dictates the present. It pre-decides. It removes the endless, exhausting internal debate. When a decision arises, you do not think. You consult the Constitution. The answer is already there. It's not about having a plan. It's about having a command. You don't need to motivate yourself daily. You need to obey yourself absolutely. So, you will write it. Now, this week, you will take these 10 chapters and distill them into 10 articles of your financial faith. Article I, on emotional control. I acknowledge my first thought is not mine. I will impose a mandatory pause before any financial decision. I will choose my second, rational thought. My gut is an advisor, not a commander. Article II, on belief. I have audited and deleted my poverty imprint. I replace scarcity scripts with commands of abundance. My wealth is a product of the value I create, not a limit I inherit. Article III, on security.
Security is my internal capacity, not an external condition. I build resilience through multiple skills and income streams. I will not worship the false idol of a guaranteed safe harbor. Article IV on ego. My money is a tool, not a trophy. I will pass the ghost test for all significant decisions. I will never use capital to signal, soothe, or prove a point. My identity stays out of the trade. Article V on risk. Risk is my raw material. I allocate risk capital across defined zones. I seek asymmetric bets where the upside dwarfs the downside. I understand that avoiding risk is the risk of irrelevance. Article VI on rituals. Discipline is designed, not summoned. My automated savings and investments are non-negotiable fixed costs. My weekly financial review is sacred. My pre-decision checklist is my gatekeeper. Article VII on opportunity. I embrace the emotional vacuum. When the herd is driven by extreme fear or greed, I will execute my vacuum protocols. I will deploy capital according to my pre-written plan, not the prevailing sentiment. Article VIII on consensus. I ignore the herd. Popular opinion is a warning signal, not an investment thesis. My compass is internal. I am deliberately ignorant to financial media designed to provoke emotion. Article IX on fortitude. My portfolio is a test of my psychology. I have written my downturn script. I have rehearsed the storm. I will not be a forced seller. My mentality is my most valuable asset. Article X on sovereignty. This Constitution is my ultimate authority. I will review it quarterly. I may amend it only in a state of calm rationality, never under emotional duress. I command my future by obeying these laws. This is your contract with your future self. Sign it, date it, print it, laminate it, put it on your wall, in your wallet, as your phone's lock screen. You have a choice. You can leave this book with ideas, feelings, and good intentions. They will evaporate by next Tuesday. Or you can leave with a document, a law, a system that operates independently of your fluctuating willpower. Your future does not respond to wishes. It responds to commands, clear, written, non-negotiable commands. When you write them, you assume the throne. You move from being a subject of your circumstances to the commander of your destiny. Vagueness is the soft, fertile soil where fear, greed, and procrastination grow. Your constitution is the concrete you pour over that soil. Nothing grows through it. Your path is clear, hard, and direct. The transformation is complete. You are no longer who you were. You have diagnosed your nervous system, deleted the poverty imprint, shattered the idol of false security, separated your ego, embraced risk as an ally, built rational rituals, learned to operate in the emotional vacuum, immunized yourself against the herd, pressure-tested your mentality, and now you have codified it into law. You are not hopeful. You are prepared. You are not optimistic. You are equipped. You are not lucky. You are unshakable. Now, go and execute.
The transformation is complete. The blueprint is in your hands. You now understand wealth is not an income level. It is a psychology. It is the unshakable mind. You delete the old imprint. You separate your ego from the dollar. You see risk as your only ally. You build your rational rituals. You operate in the emotional vacuum. You ignore the screaming herd. You pressure test your mentality until it's bulletproof. And you command your future with ruthless clarity. The market will not change. The world will not get less volatile. The noise will not quiet down. But you have changed. Your financial psychology is now your greatest asset. So here is your final instruction. Go and execute. Not when you feel ready, not when the conditions are perfect, now, with the quiet discipline of a master. Your mind is unshakable. Prove it to the world. The first decision is yours. Make it.